The New York Knicks are one of the NBA's premier franchises, and by that I mean one of the NBA's franchises with the most fans. And by that I mean one of the NBA's franchises with the most tortured fans. And with reports that the New York Knicks were prepared to walk away from several NBA superstars that any competent NBA team will be willing to offer a max contract to, including one of the best players in the NBA Finals, when will it end for the Knicks fans? Hello amigos, welcome to Take Some Fuego. Today we take a look at the superstars that the Knicks front office have recently passed on and fantasize about what could have been in the Madison Square Garden. The Knicks were set up. They had space for a few max contract players in 2019. In fact, $74.6 million worth of cap space for a couple of NBA stars. So naturally the Knicks signed Julius Randle and 5 other power forwards. But that's not after they somewhat screwed things up with other NBA free agents. The 2 NBA players that were basically New York Knicks, at least according to the media, prior to free agency were Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. They wanted to team up. They wanted to come to New York. The Knicks had all kinds of cap space. Should be a no-brainer, right? No. Not when you have the Brooklyn Nets in town, who are an actual competent franchise and prove they can build a playoff team with no real stars on it. And oh, the Nets are willing to pay Kevin Durant a max contract, and the Warriors were willing to pay Durant $221 million. That should be a good indicator for what he's worth, right? Not according to James Dolan. Durant's ACL tear scared him off and he was unprepared to offer the full max contract. Combine that with the fact that the New York Knicks front office has been completely incompetent to add surrounding pieces as a contender, and there was basically no chance this one was happening. So the New York Knicks were supposed to be Zion, Kyrie, and KD, and instead we got 15 power forwards. Rough times. But there's been another report that the Knicks were not only willing to pass on the Durant-Kyrie pairing in free agency this offseason, but other stars in the league as well. The Knicks have spent 2 years clearing cap space for a max free agent, so they chose to cancel their meeting with Kawhi Leonard to try to lure him to New York City. And reports indicate Kemba was initially very interested in returning home to NYC, but began to look elsewhere when another star did not show up on the New York Knicks roster. But this one is another in a long line of kicks to the groin of Knicks fans, and that's the fact that they had reportedly no interest in one of the best players in the finals of 2020, and that player is Jimmy Butler. When J-Bud himself requested a trade from Minnesota in 2018, the New York Knicks were actually at the top of his list of teams to go to. But in 2019, the New York Knicks didn't make any attempt to set up a meeting with him. And in some ways, how can you blame them really? They were busy making their power forward rankings in their back room. But still, when you consider the number of stars that at the very least showed interest in the New York Knicks at one point in time, you would have Kyrie, KD, Kemba, Kawhi, Jimmy Butler, all potential Knicks if the front office was a bit more competent. Combine that with the luck of the lottery that did not give Zion to the Knicks, and combine it with the fact that the Knicks traded their own star, Kristaps Porzingis, to try to make all of this work for the 2019 free agency, and then you hear they didn't even make attempts at several star free agents. It really is madness. When you have the Knicks fan base who is primed to be angry, being that they have one of the worst franchises in the league and expect some sort of improvement, and you hear they didn't even try on a couple of these guys, but so it goes. With that, I ask you, who really should have been a New York Knick? If they had a competent front office, what does that team look like? To hear the story about how LeBron James is almost a Knick, check out the video on the screen and be sure to subscribe for more thoughts of James Dolan.